Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Mike the Mind. And today we're talking about a new social phenomenon. Everyone is a therapist right now. How therapy speak took over the Asian social media. So, in your life, have you ever known complain about your boyfriend being slow to replying, and someone immediately said, "Oh, your boyfriend has an avoidant attachment style." Or maybe your friend canceled plans twice and suddenly the group chat decided that she is emotionally unavailable. You need to establish boundaries. And when your parents told you to study harder, they are called generational trauma. So at some point, the internet stopped being a place where people simply said, "Oh, this person is so annoying." Now everyone has to produce a complete psychological report toward a person. So today I want to talk about this on therapy speak, the use of psychological and language in normal, the use of psychological language in normal everyday conversations. Words like trauma, attachment style, the gaslighting, emotional labor, um, boundaries, triggers, and emotional availability are everywhere online. These terms originally came from psychology, counseling, and mental health discussions, but after passing through TikTok, Instagram, and other social media platforms, they became something very different. So basically, psychology entered social media and received the same treatment as everything else. It became shorter, prettier, and much more confident. Instead of spending years studying psychology, you can just now watch a 20-second video titled 5 Signs That Your Best Friend is Secretly a Narcissist. And suddenly your friend borrowing your charger without asking becomes evidence of a personality disorder. So to be fair, this trend did not come from nowhere. So mental health used to be difficult to discuss publicly in many societies. This was especially true in parts of Asia, where emotional struggles were often treated as private family matters, personal weakness, or something that you should simply be endured. In China, topics such as anxiety and depression become much more openly discussed on social media during the early 2020s in these years. And in Western social media gave many young people a new vocabulary for experiences they previously could not explain. Someone who constantly felt exhausted from pleasing others could learn about people pleasing. And someone who struggled to refuse unreasonable requests could learn what a boundary was. So that can be genuinely helpful. Well, research has suggested that mental health creators can improve mental health literacy and make young people more willing to recognize problems or seek for support. Social media also allows people to find communities where they feel less lonely. So therapy speak is not automatically bad. Sometimes learning the right word for an experience can feel like family turning on the lights in a dark room. The problem begins when the word becomes more important than understanding the experience. On Western TikTok, complicated psychological ideas are often reduced into simple categories. You're either securely attached or avoidant. Your relationship is either healthy or toxic. Your parents are either supportive or narcissistic. So then these categories traveling into Asian media. Chinese TikTok, for example, concepts such as emotional value and Eastern Asia family relationships are increasingly used to explain workplace pressure, family conflict, and romantic relationships. And the social science language is no longer limited to the classrooms. It has become a tool for understanding personal feelings. But something interesting happens during this cultural translation. In traditional East Asian families, relationships are often understood through the responsibility, sacrifice, and hierarchy. A parent may not say, "I love you," but they will cut fruit for you at midnight. They may criticize every decision you make, but they will also wake up at 5 in the morning to drive you to the airport. So, Western therapy culture, however, often emphasizes individual identity, direct communication, or personal boundaries. When these two systems meet, the result can be useful, but also very awkward. So, imagine telling the traditional Chinese parent, "Oh, I need to establish an emotional boundary because your communication style is affecting my psychological safety." They may respond, "Psychological safety? I pay for your math tutor." And the parent and the child are not only disagreeing, they're speaking completely different moral languages. The child is talking about emotional well being, the parent is talking about responsibility and sacrifice. So neither side necessarily understand what the other is measuring. Therapy speak can help young Asian people challenge unhealthy traditions. It gives them permission to say that family loyalty does not mean accepting every form of control. Respecting their parents does not mean you're never allowed to disagree with them. But internet psychology can also encourage people to judge their entire culture through a very individualistic Western framework. For example, not every uncomfortable family interaction is trauma. Not every strict parent is a narcissist. Not every request from a friend is emotional manipulation. Sometimes your friend is not violating your boundary, they just forgot. Sometimes your boyfriend is not avoidantly attached, he is playing Valorant. And sometimes your mother is not trying to gaslight you, she genuinely does not remember what she put in her jacket. Another problem is that therapy speak can make normal conflict sound like criminal investigation. Before therapy speak, someone might say, I don't like what you did. Now they say, I am protecting my peace by removing myself from individuals who refuse to take accountability for the emotional harm they create. This sounds extremely powerful. It also sounds like company announcing that it has fired an employee. The language creates emotional distance. Instead of having an imperfect conversation, people can use psychological vocabulary to declare themselves healthy and the other person unhealthy. I am setting a boundary can sometimes mean I don't want to hear your side. Your projecting can mean your criticism make me uncomfortable. Your invalidating my feelings can also mean you did not immediately agree with me. Of course, the real boundaries and emotional validation matter, but psychological words are not magical spells. Using the word boundary does not automatically make your demand reasonable. You cannot say that my boundary is that you must reply within 3 minutes, send me your location, and never speak to anyone born between January and December. This is not a boundary. Self-diagnosis is another part of this phenomenon. Young people increasingly encounter videos that list broad symptoms of conditions such as anxiety or ADHD because the symptoms are often presented vaguely. Being distracted, feeling tired, or avoiding difficult tasks, many viewers recognize themselves immediately. The 2025 pilot study found that young adults entering the mental health treatment often use social media information when self-diagnosing. So researchers have warned that online content can increase awareness, but can also oversimplify conditions or encourage inaccurate conclusions. You'll watch one video saying that people with ADHD sometimes procrastinate and think, oh, I procrastinated on my homework, so the evidence is overwhelming. The algorithm then notices your interest and gives you 50 more videos about the same condition. Eventually, your entire feed seems to confirm the diagnosis. But this is a partly new recommendation system work. Watching one type of content produces one of that content. It does not necessarily mean that the internet has discovered your true identity. The danger is not only misdiagnosis, it is that labels can become identities. Instead of saying, I sometimes struggle socially, a person may begin saying that, oh, this is simply who I am because of my attachment style. A psychological concept that was supposed to help someone grow can become a reason when they believe they cannot change. A psychological concept that was supposed to help someone grow can become a reason why they believe they cannot change themselves. There is also a commercial side. Once emotional language becomes popular, companies can sell emotional solutions. Healing journals, the personality tests, the online courses, the meditation subscriptions, the AI companies and products designed to provide emotional value. In China, emotional value has even become a major idea in youth consumption, influencing purchases from blind boxes to AI companionship. Well, capitalism see our emotional wants and said, would you like free shipping? So what should we do? Should we stop talking about mental health online? Probably not. The openness created by social media is valuable, so young people now have words for experiences that previous generations were often forced to hide. And therapy speak can help people recognize unhealthy behavior, communicate more clearly, and understand themselves. But psychological language should begin conversations, not end them. Learning the term attachment style does not mean you fully understand another person. Recognizing a toxic behavior does not give you the ability to diagnose someone. Setting boundaries does not mean avoiding every uncomfortable discussion. Most importantly, understanding psychology should make us more curious about people. not more eager to categorize them. People are inconsistent. Cultures are complicated. Families can be loving and frustrating at the same time. A person can hurt you without secretly being a narcissist. You can feel uncomfortable without being traumatized. And sometimes the most emotionally intelligent response is not, oh, this interaction has activated my abandonment wand. Sometimes it is simply, hey, this was kind of rude. Because even though everyone online now sounds like a therapist, very few of us actually are one. And honestly, that is probably a healthy boundary to remember.